A Jamaican drug dealer has dodged deportation from the UK by vowing only to smoke cannabis, not to sell it. Hello and welcome, I'm Adam Cherry and this is GB News Originals. Sean Rickford McLeod is a 40-year-old man who came to Britain in 2000. He was initially issued a deportation order after serving a 3-year and 4-month prison sentence for supplying Class A drugs. Now, he appealed that deportation order, citing Article 8 of, here it is again, the European Convention on Human Rights, which protects the right to family life. He argued that deportation would negatively impact his 3 young kids in the UK. Now, Judge David Brennan of a lower immigration tribunal ruled in McLeod's favour, stating that deportation would be, quote, unduly harsh on his children. The judge accepted that McLeod genuinely wants to avoid reoffending, apart from obviously smoking cannabis, which last time I checked is still illegal, so he can care for his children. And notably, McLeod openly admitted to prison and probation officers, as well as the judge, that he intended to continue using cannabis regardless of the outcome of his appeal. The Home Office, obviously dissatisfied with this ruling, appealed the decision, and in December, the upper tribunal judge supported the appeal and referred the case back to the lower court for reconsideration. Now, this case is part of a broader trend we're seeing now, where illegal migrants or convicted foreign criminals have relied on human rights laws and lawyers to remain in the UK or halt their deportations. Just to give a broader view of this, currently there are an astonishing 34,169 outstanding immigration appeals. Many, like this one, based on human rights grounds. So don't be surprised if we see a lot more of these cases coming soon. I think this is an issue that isn't going away, and the press are highlighting it quite strongly. Of course, it's also drawn similarly strong reactions from political figures.
Us blokes hate talking about a little thinning up top, and many of us settle with that balding look, but that wasn't for me, and that's why I went to Elite Hair, the world's leading hair loss clinic, and now I've had over 4,000 new hairs added to this barnet, and very soon I'm going to be rocking some brand new flowing locks, and you can too. So how does it work? Step 1, I sent the team a set of photos of my head. Step 2, I then spoke to one of the Elite Hair staff who looked through my photo submissions and worked out a treatment plan for me. Step 3, Elite Hair then organised accommodation and the treatment. I was at their state-of-the-art treatment centre in Istanbul, and their incredibly kind staff took me through the process, and before I knew it, I was in surgery. Elite Hair and their leading medical experts have specialised in pain-free treatments using the sleep deep method, and they really mean that. I felt incredibly relaxed the whole time, and I haven't felt any pain since. Check out Elite Hair using the link in the description. When you do, Elite Hair will provide you with a free personalised hair analysis. Then you'll join over 100,000 happy patients. Hit that link and start your hair growth journey like I did today.
In fact, we had Shadow Home Secretary Chris Philp calling the decision mind-boggling and appalling. Tory leader Kemi Badenoch has also called for a total overhaul of human rights legislation, although she's not calling for the UK to leave the ECHR at this point. Reform UK, on the other hand, led by Nigel Farage, is pledging to quit the ECHR altogether. They say that will stop these kind of stories from happening again. Now, Judge Brennan noted that the 2002 Immigration Act requires the deportation of anyone jailed for less than 4 years unless they have a genuine and subsisting relationship with a qualifying child, and deportation would therefore be unduly harsh. It's worth noting that the possession of cannabis is a Class B drug and it's illegal in the UK. It carries a maximum sentence of 5 years in prison. In the year to March 2024, there were over 90,000 cannabis offences recorded by the police. The Home Office insists it's pushing back. They said regarding this particular case, we remain resolute in our commitment to ensuring there are no barriers to deport foreign criminals. It is in the public interest for these people to be removed swiftly. However, McLeod's case is not an isolated incident, whatever the Home Office might say. We're actually seeing a pattern here. a pattern of foreign criminals beginning to exploit these laws to remain in the UK, as I said. So let's just take a look at some other examples that are, I would say, raising eyebrows, to say the least. In one particularly ridiculous case, an Albanian criminal managed to avoid deportation by claiming his son had an aversion to foreign chicken nuggets. Somehow, that argument held weight in the legal system, and that man was allowed to remain in the UK despite his criminal history. I'll remind you again, he is staying in the UK because his son has an aversion to foreign chicken nuggets. Fine. Anyway, now, more disturbingly is the case of the Zimbabwean paedophile who escaped removal from the UK. He avoided it despite being jailed for more than 5 years for child sex offences. He was allowed to stay because he would face, quote, hostility if he was deported back to Zimbabwe. The man was also granted anonymity and is only known as RC. He's autistic and deaf, which the court accepted meant he lacked the social skills that would enable him to defuse the hostility against him. Now, the scale of this problem is absolutely staggering. At the moment, as I say this, there are over 34,000 outstanding immigration appeals, many which are based on these human rights grounds. This backlog obviously threatens to impede efforts to swiftly remove illegal migrants from the country, whatever the Home Office is saying. Now, this stuff isn't going unnoticed in Westminster or beyond. Former Conservative Minister Sir Alex Shelbrooke has called for Britain to, quote, disentangle itself from the ECHR, saying, "I am stunned by how poor a decision this is. We have to disentangle British law from the ECHR to stop decisions like these from being made." Unfortunately for him, the leader of his party doesn't agree. Reform MP Rupert Lowe echoed the sentiment, and he said, "If you are coming to our country and you commit serious crime, you should be deported. We do not care about the criminal's right to a family life." And the Prime Minister, Sir Keir Starmer, last week pledged to close a loophole that enabled a Gazan family to come to the UK after applying under the Ukrainian family resettlement scheme. Obviously, our immigration policies are causing problems here. In fact, I'd say there's even a growing political consensus on this. The government and the opposition benches broadly agree something has to be done. They at least agree on the problem. Illegal migrants or convicted criminals are using the excuse of human rights laws to remain here. That's certainly what these stories are telling us. Now, what the solution is, that's an entirely different matter. And you can expect the perennial debate on the ECHR to heat up even more over the next few years, because that is absolutely central to basically all of these cases. The parties might agree on the diagnosis, but I think the medicine will be a bitter pill to swallow, because there's no consensus whatsoever on leaving the ECHR, even within the Conservative Party, which of course has its own problems. Thank you for watching. This has been Adam Cherry. Don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel GB News for all the latest.